Hello everyone and welcome to this week of First and 10. I, of course, am your host, Jason Heck. I'm joined as always by my tag team partner, Matt Etche. And Matt, we had, a limited week of football to cover for us due to Guelph being on the bye, but all in all, we made that road trip up to see the Laurier Golden Hawks take on the York Lions, and it was a wet one and an interesting one.
Yeah, it was a little wet, that's for sure. We knew it was going to be, though, and it didn't stop the fans from coming out. That's for sure. It was the unveiling of York's new field.
Absolutely.
And they had all the fans they could possibly get. Even a few Laurier Golden Hawk fans made the trip as well. So it was really fun to see. But yeah, it was a good weekend of football.
It was a good weekend of football, I think, all around through the CIS and OUA. But yeah, so the game we went to see was York hosting the Laurier Golden Hawks in, the wet, raining conditions on that new field. The fans were out in full force, and you know what? Shout out to the fans because, sometimes you get the fans a lot of support in that first half and they go away, but they stayed around for the whole game, and the sun even came out for that second half, which was really, really nice for us. But a very interesting game, here it was basically the return of Coach Michael Fald to York, where he was the offensive coordinator last year. And he wanted to get that team a win more so than not. I would believe than you want to win every game, but some games have more of a special meaning. You could tell this one definitely was one. And you know what? For the Golden Hawks, they started off soaring.
They sure did. Laurier Golden Hawks, their first half, they were playing really well. They didn't let the weather bother them at all. Julian John threw a great touchdown pass to Nyhoff to get things started off. And then, of course, Campbell had some great runs, none better than his 69-yard touchdown run in the first half there. Laurier went into the half leading 15-5, but then that was about it for Laurier. Unfortunately, they came out a little flat in the second half, and York came out wanting that win a lot more. And I got to give a lot of credit to York's quarterback, Gibbon. He just took over the game. One of their first drives in the second half, he threw to a wide open Dunaway in the end zone for a touchdown. And then he had a great scamper himself, a 24-yard run for a touchdown. And then he finished things off with a final touchdown pass to Brooks. Final in this game ended up being 33-20, and I gotta give a shout out to Gibbon. 366 total yards and 3 touchdowns on the day. Kind of a dominant performance from the York quarterback.
Yeah, the York quarterback in the second half really was able to take things over here and really, get the wheel going there for York, because for a while in that first half things looked dead, and York, all in all, was beating themselves. They were taking some, untimely penalties and letting Laurier capitalize on that because of stuff like that. But you mentioned Dillon Campbell. He had a great game. 146 rushing yards. That's a great thing to see. And of course, a 69-yard touchdown run. That was spectacular, and a one-play drive. For Laurier, whose offense has kind of been up and down. That's something you'd like to see in a big shining spot. Dillon Campbell definitely looked like NFL legend Earl Campbell. So a lot on that series. But yeah, things just got away. The discipline problems that York had kind of transferred over to Laurier to let up all those drives, because before that first touchdown for York, the Golden Hawks are probably going to force at least a field goal, but they took an undisciplined, unsportsmanlike penalty after a late hit, and it lets York get another chance in the red zone. They capitalize off of a turnover from Julian John, and then they've scored 14 points in 2 minutes before and they're in the lead in this game.
That's right. And how many times did we say watching the game, Jason, York would give Laurier a gift, whether it be a penalty or a turnover, something like that, and then the next play, pretty much, Laurier would give it right back, and it really was tough. These losses are some of the worst ones to take as an athlete. Last week was obviously tough with the almost comeback against U of T. Well, this one's even worse, because at least with U of T, they had a lot of positives they could bring out of it. With this one, not as many positives, mostly because they beat themselves, I think.
I would say, they did beat themselves, but I think the positive thing is, you gotta, you got to stay focused and motivated. You know, you're playing a division, you know, a in-city rival next week, and there's still some bright spots. I mean, they're a very young team, Laurier. You know, we keep saying that they're very young. They're going to make some mistakes. They're going to, you know, make you scratch your head. But they're also going to have some moments of brightness, and they definitely did, especially that first half. You know, Julian John and Greg Nyoff are having this great connection here, which I think is a big positive thing. And if Dillon Campbell can keep running the ball like he did against York, there's going to be some good things here for the Golden Hawks. So, all in all, you know, the loss is very hurtful, especially considering, unlike last week against, you know, University of Toronto, where you're making the comeback and you just fall short. This one, you let the game get out of hands. But, you know, there's, you know, one more, you know, there's always the next game, and the next one is a big one for them. We're going to get to that in just a second. Yeah,
and as you spoke about, positives, right? And one big positive, we already mentioned him, Dillon Campbell, huge positive coming out of this game, and he is our player of the week this week.
Exactly, player of the week, you know, averaging 9 yards a carry is also a spectacular thing. You know, 146 rushing yards, that one touchdown is huge, and 9 yards a carry, I mean, that is spectacular. You know, basically almost a first down every time you get the ball. Like I just said, you know, that's a big bright spot for Laurier, especially if you can keep the running game going. You know, this no huddle, have you know some quick gains from Julian John, and then have Dillon Campbell just be in there to pound and use his speed. The Golden Hawks offense is going to be in some great shape.
Yeah, and exactly as you said, 9 yards per carry. That's more than any coach will ask. If you can get that regularly out of your running back, you're just going to hand them the rock almost every play. And then also you got to give a credit there to the O-line, of course, for Laurier for being able to run block for him. But yeah, Dillon Campbell, I mean, he's a guy who has paid his dues, 5'8" running back. This is his 3rd year of eligibility, and this is his 1st year starting though. And I think we're starting to see him really take advantage of this.
Well, Dillon Campbell is definitely like Dillon from Making the Band show. He's spitting hot fire when he touches the rocks. So it's something that I think a lot of teams are going to have to look out for, that Laurier now has a secretly hidden star in the run game department. So just some other notes from around the league just to finish off week 3 of the OUA season. It's hard to believe it's already week 3, Matt. The Western Mustangs, you know, absolutely kind of embarrassed the McMaster Marauders. I never saw McMaster getting dominated like this. I believe this is McMaster's first loss at home in about 2 years. As well, you had the GGs from Ottawa, you know, come at home and get a victory over the University of Toronto, which, you know, Ottawa in their own right is kind of a secretly hidden offense that, you know, they're gaining some respect here in the OUA.
Yeah, it seems like that. I mean, it's a team who typically makes the playoffs and didn't last year, so I think they're a little hidden, as you said. But I think this game is big because Ottawa and U of T may be duking it out for a final spot at the end of the season. Now Ottawa has that head-to-head tiebreaker, which means Toronto has to have one more win than Ottawa at the end of the season.
Absolutely, and you know they're going to get a chance at it in the coming weeks, or especially next week and this upcoming week here in a big day. And of course, just quickly to wrap it up, Queens 49, Windsor 34. Those Lancers, even though that's a loss to Queens, they're still putting the offense out there. And the Waterloo Warriors get their first win of the season with a 47-8 victory over the Carleton Ravens. So the Warriors definitely came out to play in that one. So yeah, you know, we definitely had a shorter week for, you know, going to games and, you know, taking a look at them. But we're kind of back to the double duty, which I do like, because the Guelph Griffins, they're back in action. They're coming off the bye. They're coming off that miraculous last-second field goal victory over the Windsor Lancers at home. But this time it's going to be a little different because, you know, you're coming off a bye, and you're on the road for the first time this season.
That's right, and bye weeks, you see it all the time. It can either be great help for you. You get an extra week of practice, extra week of prep, and that can be really helpful, or it can really hurt because you can kind of get out of the routine and maybe not have that intensity to start things off. And they might need it. Last year, Toronto came to Guelph for Guelph's homecoming,
absolutely.
And they were up 31-16. Guelph was. points, and then only managed to win it 31-29. So I gotta say, Guelph, if you're up in this one, keep your foot on the gas pedal, because this team will come back, and they'll come back hard, especially with Jugovic at the helm there, the U of T quarterback. This team is averaging about 300 passing yards on the season right now, which is great.
Yeah, Toronto, the Varsity Blues, they really got a high-powered passing attack. Paul DePass is obviously the big leader that Jurjevic really likes, but there's also some other weapons in there that he likes to find, and we definitely saw that when U of T came to Laurier and was able to really expose and make some critical second down conversions. So Guelph, obviously, as you said, the bye week can be a good or a bad thing. I think for Guelph, it's a good thing, because the way they went into it was in a last second win. They had a lot of a high, and now they got to keep that going. And the offense, which we're so used to being so high and explosive, if you're Toronto, the one thing you got to be impressed that Windsor did, their defense was able to keep that offense kind of stalled there up until that last second drive. So there's some things I think Toronto may want to steal what Windsor did, but there's always so many weapons that Guelph has. You got Johnny Augustine, Jazz Lindsay, Saxon Lindsay, a whole bunch of crew, and Guelph's got a strong defense in their own right that can really shut down Jurjevic and the passing course. So it should be a real explosive game at Toronto, and of course Guelph remembers how they almost blew it at homecoming last year, so that's going to have to be a little bit on their minds to make sure they don't let that type of a situation happen again, especially on Toronto's field this time.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. U of T is going to have to take a little bit of Windsor's strategy there against the Guelph attack. U of T has given up the most passing yards so far this season, with 1,370 over the course of 3 games. That's a lot, and so look for Jazz and his teammates to want to take advantage of that. They could have big games, and actually I think they will.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? They should probably have a big game, and as Guelph would say, I think the legend will be unleashed on the Varsity Blues come Saturday, which of course this game can also be seen all across the country on Sportsnet 360. And for us here in the Waterloo area, it's the big one, Matt, because it's the Battle of Waterloo. And, normally this is a very big game based on the two teams, but this year it's taken a bit of an extra interesting turn, as if you'd have told me back in August that going into this game there would be a team with at least one win, I would have never thought it'd be the Waterloo Warriors. Well, guess what? That's what's happening, as the 1-2 Warriors will host the 0-3 Laurier Golden Hawks. So, Matt, the Battle of Waterloo, it's a must-win for Laurier.
Yeah, I think so.
What do you got to say?
I got to say Laurier's had Waterloo's number for the last many years of the Battle of Waterloo. Last time Waterloo won was in 2002. Last time Laurier went into this game not having a better record than Waterloo was in 2007, not that long ago. Now, mind you, their records were tied at both 3-0. Laurier went on to only lose 1 game the rest of that season. Waterloo didn't win another one after that game. So, but Laurier has had their number. Last year, they won 12-0 off 4 field goals. This one, I think, promises to have more fireworks than that one. Waterloo's offense is averaging about 150 yards per game more than Laurier. So their offense looking a little better than Laurier's right now. Mind you, they have played Carleton. And then Laurier's defense, though, has given up 200 yards per game less than Waterloo. So you got the classic offense against the defense. What does that mean, Jason? This game's going to come down to special teams.
Exactly. Special teams, and you know what? I think Laurier, they've got a pretty interesting special teams game. Yes. Akarakis for Laurier, he almost broke a couple punt returns against U of T 2 weeks ago. And Laurier also found, a couple other special little players, I think, for, kick returns that, had some great gains. Just penalties, took back his returns and stuff of that nature. Mm-hmm. But for Waterloo, a team, 3rd year back in existence since, basically the program was shut down. I'm going to give Joe Pow a lot of respect, because I think Coach Pow, he was there as an offensive coordinator, But now he's there coaching, and I think he's the right man for the job to turn this team around. And they're putting up points. Sure, week 1 against Windsor, not the game you want to show people, 78-11. But, they put up 34 against Ottawa, and, 47 last week against Carleton. On the road, too, by the way. That's, even though it's a brand new team, still on the road, 47 is pretty impressive. Yeah. They're coming home against a team, that they're really motivated to beat. There's some real strong stars defensively, I think, for the Warriors. And I'm really intrigued. This Battle of Waterloo just got really interesting.
One of the best
It's in fuego, Matt.
It's in
fuego. I'm just really ready for this Battle of Waterloo. Laurier wants it because there's only a couple more games left, and the way their schedule goes, they end their season on a bye. Yeah. So they gotta pick up the wins, and no better than against your in-city rival of the Waterloo.
It's true, and this is why we kind of mentioned that this game's a must-win for them. After this game against Waterloo, they play Western, Windsor, Queens, and McMaster. Those are 4 very tough teams to beat, and Laurier's never had a winless season. All of these players on this Laurier team, I think, know this and have looked ahead and know that this game against Waterloo is that much bigger because of that. None of them want their names beside a winless season. Not to say that they may not beat Western, Windsor, Queens, or McMaster. It's just they're a lot tougher to beat, I think, right now than University of Waterloo is, and they got to get it done on Saturday at the Battle of Waterloo.
Well, the Warriors are going to come out to play, and the Golden Hawks are going to look to soar, and I think this is going to be a real interesting matchup. And we'll be there under the lights, too, which has always got a bit of extra of a strong vibe for it.
Yeah, nice vibe.
So that's the preview for this week. Some really exciting matchups here between, Guelph and Laurier. And then just quickly taking a look at the league standings, you got Queens and Western tied at the top. Guelph, they stay in 3rd because of the bye. Ottawa moving into 4th with that win last week. York in 5th with their Golden Hawk victory. McMaster, Toronto, Waterloo, Windsor all tied for 6th with wins and losses respectively. And Carleton and Laurier go at 10 and 11 with last week's losses. So for Laurier as well, you want to get that win just so you can get from the bottom. You don't want to be there ever. And looking at your power rankings, why don't you explain them, Matt?
Well, I have Western at number 1 there. I decided to put them above Queens, even though a lot of people are thinking Queens are better. I don't know. I think Western maybe a bit better defense there than Queens. Guelph in 3rd there, McMaster in 4th, 5th Windsor. Now, kind of where I had trouble there was Ottawa and Toronto at 6 and 7, but obviously Ottawa beat Toronto this past weekend, so I got to put Ottawa above there. Then York at 8, Laurier at 9, even though they don't have a win, I think they're still better than those 2 teams below them. Waterloo at 10 and Carleton at 11.
All right, so your 9 and 10s are gonna really battle for your proving point here come Saturday in the Battle of Waterloo. And quickly moving to the CIS top 10, not too much really changed around. We just had St. Mary's adjusted, and their big one really for the OUA is that McMaster dropped 3 spots from 6 to 9, which that's kind of interesting actually.
They are below 500, right? And they're the only team below 500 on the list, so I don't think you can complain too much.
Oh, you can't complain. It's just interesting and weird to see McMaster at just barely in the top 10.
That's true. Yeah, good point.
That's all I'm saying. And then quickly, before we finish here, it's our favorite segment. It's Quick Picks. Where are we on that?
I missed it.
I did.
Oh, blew it.
Anyways, starting off Quick Picks, we have the Ravens and the Lancers and Windsor.
Yeah, I gotta go with Windsor in this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Windsor Lancers and Mr. Austin Kennedy. York, who's coming off that win against McMaster, who's coming off 2 straight losses. And if I'm York, I don't think I want to go play McMaster right now.
No, not at home, especially. No, McMaster, they're gonna break that losing streak.
And lastly, the undefeated Western Mustangs taking on the Ottawa GGs in London.
Yeah, I gotta go with Western at this point. They're number 1 on my power rankings. How can I go against them?
You definitely can't go, giddy up Western, giddy up. So that's it for this week. If you have any questions, you can always follow us or just get at us at Twitter, which is at FirstAnd10FB. That's it for this week. For Matt, I'm your host, Jason Hagholm. Peace out and enjoy some good football.